Welcome to the Man Cove Wellbeing talk show, a show that opens up the conversation on men's mental health and empowers men with the knowledge and inner resources to heal. On each episode, we take a look at a topic, story, or health issue that features on our YouTube channel. Alongside wellness experts and practitioners, we talk all things mental and emotional health. We also have a Q&A segment where the MCW patron community can ask us questions on all things mental and emotional health. If you find anything discussed here today triggering or uncomfortable, please press the stop button and look after you. We hope you enjoy the show, and thanks for listening. Welcome everybody, we are back. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. We really hope you enjoyed episode 1. Today we are going to be talking about mindfulness, and we will close the show with some amazing mindful tips from Carla-Jo Geraghty, who is on the show with me today and will be for many shows to come. So welcome Carla-Jo to the show.
Thank you, Owen.
I want to thank you so much for the amazing content you're going to provide us today, but I felt your message and your wisdom and your knowledge will be so powerful for this show, so I'm really looking forward to discussing things with you.
Oh, thank you. I'm just really excited about this journey that we're going to go on and talking to loads of really interesting people around their experiences of wellness and what is out there that can help us to feel better.
Yeah, exactly. We're always told, to look into ways of feeling healthier and being more well, but sometimes it's hard to know where to start. Where to begin.
Absolutely, yeah, there's so much out there.
I felt mindfulness is such a buzzword, isn't it, at the moment? So from you getting into it, did you start early on before it became a buzzword, do you think? Or is it fairly fresh?
So for me, when was it? It was around sort of 2009 that I became aware of mindfulness, actually because my mum was training to be a mindfulness teacher then. So I became intrigued around it all and read some books, and then I became even more intrigued, and 2010 I decided that I was going to start practicing 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation every day, and then I just went on the most incredible journey. I never expected, from that just 15 minutes a day to be where I am now and to have developed and learnt so much about myself and others and relationships through, just that beginning, 10 years ago now, that sitting down and for 15 minutes. So it's been the most incredible journey.
Yeah, I often hear that journey especially for mindfulness teachers. Anyone who goes on a meditation journey talks about just how expansive it actually is, and how you're just always going to be learning more about yourself and being in the moment and all those kind of things. So what were you doing before mindfulness came along?
So before I sort of started looking into mindfulness more, I was a shiatsu practitioner, which is a form of therapeutic body work. And prior to that, I was actually a television editor. Quite a shift.
Yeah, it's quite expansive. And I have to say that that experience in TV and radio is probably going to come in quite useful here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is quite helpful. But I think the most logical question for you, Carla-Jo, is for those who have never meditated before, how would they approach beginning to do so?
Yeah, I'm just thinking as you said that as well, just to say something about, because this question comes up quite a lot, the difference between mindfulness and meditation. As you're talking through that video there, so mindfulness is about being aware of what's going on in the present moment and relating to what's there with this sense of kindness, compassion and care. And we can take specific moments out in the day to really practice training this loving, wise attention. So that's what mindfulness meditation is. It's time when we've decided to take this time out to really try and grow this attention that is wise and caring. So I think really, if you've never meditated before, and it's something that you're really interested in doing, firstly, if you're able to, I would say, if you can, try and find a group or a teacher, because it's really helpful to start your journey in relationship with somebody else, because we don't know what might be going on for us, or and having that guidance from someone is really important, so that you can really begin to understand what it is that you're doing, and then you can go off and practice on your own. However, if there isn't that sort of thing available for you, then there are lots of apps that you can use. I would really suggest starting very small, and often even starting with some form of movement as well can be really useful. So just really practicing feeling your feet on the ground, bringing your attention into this sensation of your feet, being aware of the thoughts that may be arising around that, redirecting your attention back to your feet, or a small breathing practice, but it's different for everybody. So I think that's also really important to understand, is that, for you it's feeling uncomfortable feeling your breath, then it's okay to shift to something else and not to stick with it. So yeah, when you're sort of exploring this, to really listen to, if something is feeling uncomfortable, not right, it's really important to stop and choose something else, because essentially, mindfulness meditation is about turning towards our inner world and our inner life, and we don't know necessarily what's in there. So it's really important to, find a teacher, or to really take care of yourself if you're doing this on your own, and to stop if anything sort of comes up that may feel a bit tricky.
Because last week, thank you so much for that, because last week we did put 3 of your meditations on the first episode. So it was mindfulness of breathing. It was one for when people are struggling to get back to sleep at night. And the one that, was really powerful for me, where I started meditation journey, was the 3-minute breathing space.
Yeah.
So would you suggest that that's a really great place to start, because it's short and can be applied to kind of many locations, and wherever you are, you can go into a 3-minute breathing space?
Yeah, so that's a really great place to start, because you can do it anywhere. We can, wherever we are, we can just take a few minutes to stop and just check in with our experience, because a really big part of mindfulness practice is seeing clearly what our experience is, because so often we move through the world reacting in unhelpful ways, but mindfulness allows us to pause, to stop, to just check in and say, okay, what's really going on here? What are the thoughts going on in my mind, the sensations in my body, and how can I respond more wisely to what my experience is right now? And we can do that initially just in this 3 minutes of stopping, checking what's going on for us, focusing on the breath for a minute, and then expanding back out. So do refer back.
Definitely. I think those shorter introductions that's 100% what I did. I started meditating when I was really struggling with anxiety. So I had years of stuff with depression, then the anxiety started to kick in, and I actually found meditation really, really difficult. I found that it, on some level, made my anxiety worse, because I was coming into my body and feeling that. But I realised I was probably at a low level anxiety all the time, and that awareness allowed me to realise that and do it in a safe space. And I went onto YouTube and found a really amazing guy that does meditations on there, and he had just an amazing voice that I really connected with, and I liked some of his videos that he did. So I found a person that I felt could help me on the journey, and I did it safely, but the more I did it, the easier it became. And then I was able to change my relationship with anxiety. So rather than trying to get rid of it, I changed my relationship and did it, like you said, with kind and caring awareness. So that, I guess that's something people to think about, isn't it? Is if they do have anxiety, depression things, and they're coming in and tuning in, like you say, like you said, to do it very carefully.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that you shared your experience there, because, you know, there is so much out there about mindfulness at the moment, and people may be thinking, oh gosh, you know, I need to do this to help me with my mental health, and then you sit down and you do it and it's really difficult or uncomfortable or makes you feel worse. And I think it's really important to understand that mindfulness meditation is about, our relationship with ourselves. It's not, and often we can feel calm, but that's just kind of a byproduct. We're learning to relate differently to our inner experience. So, you know, feeling more anxiety as you meditate doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It means that this is what's there right now, and can I learn to relate to what's there with more compassion and kindness, and actually it will dissipate and it will move. So I think it is important to be cautious and just check in, you know. I teach 8-week courses, 1-to-1 or in groups, and I always speak to the person beforehand and just check, you know, how they are and where they are in terms of their mental health. You know, I wouldn't recommend, you know, if you are really suffering with anxiety or depression right now, to on your own go and sit and do a meditation, because it might not be helpful. So, you know, as with everything, it's important to understand what it really is and to seek the right support initially with, you know, properly trained mindfulness teachers, and then go off and explore when you've had some of that real sort of proper guidance, really.
Yeah, because we're going to talk a lot about the relationship and how powerful that is in therapy as well. We're going to cover a lot of this in episodes to come, and I guess mindfulness is on that spectrum as well, because there are all these apps out there. I know you feature on one of the apps as well, and it's absolutely amazing. But again, it's people with the app may not 100% understand what mindfulness is, or meditation is, or how they should be connecting with their own meditation journey. And I guess having like a mindfulness mentor, for example, is like a really nice way, isn't it, to check in with somebody who can make sure that they're doing it in a way that best serves them, rather than this desperation to be more relaxed, desperation to stop having stress. Yeah, because stress will always be there on some level.
Yeah, and again, it's about relating to your experience. If you're relating to your experience, like, oh, I must try and do this to stop it, I don't like, you know, that's going to create resistance. But also I want to say that, you know, we're talking here about this, but also mindfulness is an incredibly powerful, transformative, amazing way that we can relate to ourselves and the world, and it has a hugely beneficial and positive effect on many people who decide to dedicate their lives to it, or decide to bring it into their lives in some way.
Wow, that's so powerful, and I'm really hoping for the audience at home who've never approached meditation before, this could be useful. But really important to note, you said something earlier on which I thought was amazing, which is this living mindfully. So people think, oh, mindfulness, it's about meditating. But it's so much more than that, isn't it? And the buzz around it seems to be around meditation. But it'd be great if you could let everybody know more about a mindful way of living.
Yeah. So, and you know, when I first started this journey, that was my initial thing. Oh, you know, I'll just do 15 minutes of meditation every day, and, you know, it will help me to feel a little bit stressed in the moment. But what I had no idea that it would completely transform the way that I experience my life, you know, every moment throughout the day. And with those formal practices, it's really helping you to gain much more understanding of your inner life and the way that you behave and the way you are in relationship with yourself and with others. And I really began to see more clearly, you know, my unhelpful habits. I began to really understand the thoughts in my mind and what they were up to, and to know that that wasn't who I was. It was just a mental construct. And, you know, it really, when you begin to understand your mind and your body sensations, and not be fearful of them, and understand that they're just, you know, it's just a product of what the mind and body is doing, essentially often just to keep you safe. So, you know, I really began to see that the way I was moving through the world, you know, often was not particularly helpful, though it wasn't my fault. And, you know, so much of it was sort of reacting habitually. But with mindfulness, I began to understand myself so much better, understand why the mind was doing what it was, you know, and make peace and really cultivate this friendly attitude towards my experience. And that completely shifted my understanding of myself, my understanding of others and my relationship with them. You know, my behaviour changes as a result of deeply understanding, you know, what's going on with my mind and my body. And, you know, it's completely transformed my life in ways that I never dreamt were possible, really. And, you know, going back to a bit of my history, you know, when I was 19, I'm 39 now, when I was 19, you know, I suffered from really bad anxiety and panic attacks, and also I was suffering from what I now understand as post-traumatic stress due to an incident and other things that had gone on in my life. And it was really, really scary. And so I feel like I have a real understanding of what it's like to have really poor mental health. But also now, you know, having been on this journey for the last 10 years, despite difficult circumstances that have still arisen, as that is the nature of life, I've been able to relate to them much better, and I have the best mental health that I've ever had in my life. You know, and there were times, you know, when I was 19 and in my early 20s that I was so stuck and scared of my inner life and my experience, and through this daily mindfulness practice, you know, it's completely shifted my experience of myself and how I relate to the world.
That's so amazing. And yeah, of course, you have the history of your mental health already, as do I, as all of us can have in moments in our lives. Things happen to us, but this mindful way of being aware of our own experience is, like, I guess this is the key message here, isn't it? It's the key power is having an awareness of our experience. And next week, you and me are going to sit down and talk a lot about polyvagal theory, which then taps into another arena of awareness, doesn't it? And understanding what states you're in at any one time. So I think we are going to cover like lots of mindful tips from you, aren't we, in weeks to come. So we'll have loads of, you know, top 5 tips and things for mindfulness as well to help you. But briefly, before we finish up here, it'd be really great to kind of briefly talk about the real benefit of a mindful way of living. What, you know, what life is like. What is the, I guess, the benefit and bonus of living that way?
Yeah. So, from my experience, one word that always comes up for me is I feel much more. It's like this sense of stability. So no matter what happens in life, and the nature of life is that it's beautiful and amazing, and there will always be difficult things that arise as well, is that I am able to meet what's arising with this sense of centeredness and stability and kindness and compassion. Something that definitely I didn't have the experience of before I started my mindfulness meditation practice. It enables me to see the beautiful things in life with much more clarity and joy, to really appreciate life more, to really be in gratitude for everything that I do have in my life. And when the difficult things do arise, I'm much more able to meet them from this place of groundedness, of steadiness, and not be sort of knocked over by the difficult things that may be happening. There's like this place inside us all, really, this place of resilience that we can, with practice, cultivate, and this place of inner love, really, that we all have. And this is something that I love about mindfulness, like, as it's a nature of, you know, being human, to cultivate this mindfulness awareness. Everybody can cultivate mindful awareness, and everybody can cultivate compassion is part of our makeup as being human. So I think that's something that I also love about it, is that this is not, it's not determined by any sort of belief or anything like that. This is all within us. So for me, practicing mindfulness every day has enabled me to really enjoy the richness and beauty of life more, and to be able to feel really steady and compassionate towards myself and others when the inevitable difficulties of life arise.
Wow, that's so amazing. And resilience is such a big word in so many of the therapies that are out there, and coaching and all that kind of thing. They always often talk about resilience, don't they? I think that combination of resilience and compassion, like you said, is amazing. Because if you can bring that love and kindness to yourself, the way you react and behave, you can meet it with much more love and kindness, rather than getting stuck in your thoughts and starting to beat yourself up about the way you've behaved, and stops that negative self-talk that really starts to get us wrapped up, doesn't it? And I think compassion, resilience, for everyone listening at home, is probably the key message here for the mindful way of life. And it's not something just for yogis and meditation people. It's for everyone, isn't it? Absolutely. It's for anybody out there. This is something they can approach. People may say that it's harder to just go straight into yoga in that sense, but I think mindfulness and meditation and being aware is something that we can all try on some level, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. Obviously, going forward, we're going to be doing a lot more stuff together, covering a lot more topics. We are now a duo. We are joint hosts of this show, so some weeks we will have other guests on with me, but the majority of the time, me and Carla-Jo will be discussing all things wellness. So I want to thank you again for coming on today.
That's okay, thank you. And I just also want to say, if you've listened to this and you're feeling inspired about starting a mindfulness meditation practice, you're more than welcome to email in and ask me any questions at all that might have arisen out of you listening to this program, or anything else that you would like to ask me about. I'm always happy to listen and share what I can with you. So thank you, Owen, and I look forward to coming on next week.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening this week, and we will be back with you next time. Wishing you all a wonderful week to come.